And there sort of seems to be a consensus on 5 basic cornerstones of shooting black and white. 5 things to really focus on. What you really need to be able to see when you're out shooting black and white. And if you focus on these 5 things, you'll be most of the way there as far as capturing what you need to make a conversion. A wide range of tones, from bright in color. You're getting separation between the different elements with the color itself. When you take that away, you need something else to help separate the different elements, and that comes from tones of gray. Take this photo, for example, a church up in Iceland. You get lots of different colors here, separating out everything. The flowers are separated out from the grass, the tree from the background, church from the sky, everything there. There's no trouble with these separation. When you convert to black and white, you need those tones, a variety, a range of tones, in order to get the same separation. Now, when I made the first initial conversion, these flowers didn't show up, the tree didn't show up, the church didn't, it was just a sort of it's kind of flat, and I'll show you how to correct for that. But if those tones weren't there, weren't captured, then you wouldn't be able to make those corrections as well. So capture all of the data you can. Okay, the second, besides a wide range of tones, you need strong contrast. You need, try to capture everything from black to white, from bright to dark. And contrast is the differences, and they can be very subtle or they can be very stark. You know, high contrast, when you have this kind of thing, where there's a stark difference, pure black, lots of white, that's high contrast, and that's an easy one for black and white. This requires not much finagling at all. And of course you can go the opposite direction. It's just, you know, it's just pure black and white, and that's easy. But makes the point that contrast is essential. In this one, contrast is working between the very light-colored skin and the dark background. And you'd be looking for those kinds of contrasts, because that makes it easier, a lot easier in black and white. These things can really be played up and emphasized in black and white. And it's easy to do if you start off this way. Now I'll show you how to create these contrasts if they're not already there. But when they're there, you might as well capture. Another case.
Spent a lot of time getting her hair to come out of the background.
I'll bet.
So essentially was
I'll bet, yeah.
Almost invisible against the background.
Was it really? Was it really? Yeah, yeah. Well, that was important, yeah. And you can do that in black and white by using color sliders, as we'll show you. Again, another shot made successful mostly because of the black background. Okay. Even small areas of black and white can make an image pop. Now, if you sort of block out that white tree and that man, the black coat and white hands, see how flat the image becomes? Not terrible, but, and then you let them back in and it pops. So that little bit of contrast is crucial in most black and white, not all, but most black and white photographs. Okay, bright skies, thank you, Bill. Against the dark background, lots of contrast, usually no problem at all. Same thing with this really interesting shot from Gene. A clear winner as far as great, you could, if you're shooting black and white and you see something like this, you know right away, this is going to make a black and white. Waterscapes, though, can also have great contrast. This is the falls up at the end of I think, the most beautiful hike trail east of the Rockies. It's in Pembroke, Virginia, down about 100 miles or 150 miles southwest of here. This beautiful walk along this river, and at the end you're rewarded with this wonderful waterfall, but it's still just an ordinary waterfall. I mean, you've seen a million waterfall shots. This is just fine. But when you convert it to black and white, it becomes almost magical. Right away, you're sort of surprised into saying, "Oh, that's a waterfall." Yeah, but it's got all kinds of other elements. I think the black and white is far stronger than the color. Too bad Rick's not here tonight, because I was going to tell him I've seen a lot of pictures of this fall. This is the most beautiful one I've ever seen. I mean, it's really, really nice. And he could have been satisfied with that. He probably is satisfied. But he didn't stop there. Transformative, equally beautiful, maybe even more evocative in some ways. So again, don't just be, you can go back, half the fun of doing black and white is going back through all of your old color shots and trying to, now that you know what to look for, pulling them up, making one quick conversion to see if they have any possibility, and if they do, working up what you can work up. It's great. You'd be surprised at what you can do with some of your old photos. Okay, some images are almost impossible. These are rocks along the coast of one of the islands in the Galapagos. Interesting texture, interesting graphics. I tried making it into a black and white, and I just couldn't do it. I mean, it's just sort of flat. And I tried doing the things with color that I'll show you later. It just didn't go anywhere. So, sometimes, don't waste your time. It's just, sometimes it's not going to be worth it. Okay. Where there isn't much tonal contrast, though, in that case I couldn't, but sometimes you can create it. Here's a shot of Virginia creeper against the fence in our backyard. And the color does what color does. It separates out the plant from the fence. Picture's done. That's it. Nothing that needed to be done. However, you convert it to black and white, and it dies, right? No contrast. But the texture isn't even all that great, okay? But with manipulating the color and all the color you captured with your raw capture, you can create contrast that isn't there otherwise. So when you do a quick conversion in Lightroom or whatever, don't give up necessarily if you use a lot of color differences, because you can bring out those differences. Okay, cornerstone number 3, texture. Often unappreciated, often not that obvious in color, but it can be a great attribute in black and white. Texture is the feel of something. It's usually a surface quality, and it almost makes you feel you could, by looking at it, you can almost feel it. That's good texture. Again, Rick took an extraordinarily good shot. I don't know where it is, but he took advantage of this texture in this photograph, and he took advantage of the light coming from the side. That always helps bring out the texture. And if you weren't there at that time of day, you might have gone back. And this is one of the things you have control over sometimes, not when you're traveling necessarily. That's why if you want to travel, just be happy with snapshots, because that's all you're going to get, because that's all you have time for. But if you have the time, and you can go back at a different time of day, do so to get that texture in a photograph. It's just an amazingly interesting shot. Gene saw the same thing in this. I'll bet you anything the colors here were not very interesting.
Yeah, they were black and white.
They were black and white, exactly. But what's interesting? This wonderful texture all through this animal. Fantastic. And by turning it to black, by going pure black and white, it really becomes obvious. It becomes part of the essence. Same thing with this shot of Gene's. This is a fantastic shot. I mean, talk about texture. The light is coming in from this angle. You can see by the shadows coming in this way, and it's skimming across all this fabric. Even a hand. Look at the texture, texture. Even the noise in the background is texture. In color, we almost always want to get rid of noise, right? It distracts. It's not appealing. But grain in black and white has always been attractive. and you have that grain control with some of the sliders in Lightroom and other programs, you never use it in color. But for black and white, if you don't have enough grain, you can use it. Actually, I know professional photographers who, when they shot back with black and white in film, they shot with a high ASA, back in those days, film, 400, so bring out all this grain, but it added something mysterious and surreal to the but anyway, this is an amazing shot.
Gene, was that at Highland?
Yes,
That was beautiful.
that was about
It's a
4
what?
years ago.
That's beautiful.
Where was it? Highland?
In
Highland.
Yeah, was it really?
Was that during their, ceremony for?
I don't remember, it was about 4 years ago.
Okay.
It hasn't been recent, because I haven't seen him back at Highlands
The
in the
horses?
last several years.
Yeah,
Now, did he pose for you? Did you ask him to pose this way? You just caught it?
No, he would just, meandering
yeah,
around
yeah.
the house there, and
But you know what?
I may have been talking to him.
Yeah, and look what's key. Look at that hand coming around.
okay. Oh, it is just.
That brings your eye right back into the photo. Just amazing. Anyway, you have some control over the direction of the light. Time of day, when you're outside indoors, you can use artificial lighting and shoot it at an angle. Rule of thumb basically is, here's your camera, here's your subject. If you apply artificial light in this range, you're going to get flat, uninteresting photograph and very little texture. You put your light source over here from 45 to 90, you're going to get terrific shadows, which brings out all of this wonderful texture. Putting it behind is another matter. Okay, even soft light, when there isn't much contrast, not a very interesting photo. Turn it to black and white and bring up the contrast, and you get both texture and interesting objects, which is the next subject. Okay, now texture can also come into play with portraits. By converting to black and white and then very subtly using your sliders for texture and clarity, you can go from this to this. Thank you. Amazing conversion. Yeah,
I love those sliders.
Yeah, that was a slider, yep. Okay. Anyway, shapes.
Can you go backwards and wide?
I'm just trying. Yeah, you can. Photoshop's great for knocking off the ears. Anyway, shapes is another of the 5 cornerstones. With color, they're there. They should be there. They're interesting, but basic shapes can really be emphasized in black and white, as Tony did with this one. Cropping it and converting to the black and white, and the shapes just pop right out. Annie Leibovitz, focusing on shapes, saying that they guarantee striking black and white images, especially with some of the hard angles and lines of man-made subjects. But also with organic things. This is the one leaf of a wild garlic, wild onion rather, and this is seed pods of
I think a bee-balm.
bee balm. Yeah, anyway. But again, looking for shapes, interesting shapes. Again, try to see through the color and see the shapes. Okay, and the 5th and last of the 5 is deep shadows, or any kind of shadows, but deep shadows is in black and white really show up. Usually shadows very often can be a liability in black and color, because they basically turn something black and you can't see much detail in it. And it's, think of a bright sunny day, not very appealing lighting for photography generally. But with black and white, we've seen lots of photos in our peer reviews. People, some of our street shooters like Steve and Tom and others have come in with photos they've taken in high noon, and because they're in black and white, they really just work beautifully. Okay, this one, for example, this would be nowhere without that shadow. And the color on this thing was awful, so it was an obvious transformation. But again, it was high noon, or well, not quite, but it was lots of shadows, just a mess until converting. Okay, another thing you can do with shadows is you have control over the time of day and where you stand. The shadows are there to be manipulated. You just don't take it as you, people just walk up to a scene sometimes and take a shot. You should spend much more time walking around, seeing different angles, high or low, this way or that. How often do judges say, if you had just moved over here just a little bit, I'd give you a 5, but otherwise I'd give you a 2. You know? Yeah, setting up and preparing for the shot, this should all be running through your head when you're approaching a scene event or any subject. What's the best angle? And for shadows, that's really important. This shot, for example, if I had been standing over here, I've gotten a completely different photograph with the shadows. But by standing here with the light, the sun behind one of the columns, you get something that's just the way you want it. So. And finally, all come together. Shapes, contrasts, tones, shadows, textures, they're all there in a really, really great black and white. Thank you, Jim.
It was a huge lens flare in the middle of it. I spent hours reconstructing.
Yeah.
Good job.
That used to be really a struggle, but Photoshop's gotten a lot better at handling lens flares. Anyway, now, any questions at this point? That's basically the meat and potatoes